Hello, welcome once again to another edition of the Coach's Corner program. I'm Jeff Ruth, along with Harding head football coach C.J. Wessler. And C.J., it was an entertaining game last Friday night over at Pleasant, to say the least.
Yeah, very excited with how the kids played. Thought they played extremely hard, extremely well. We executed really on all three phases of the game. You know, special teams, we had a scoop and score. Defense, I thought, played really well. Offensively, we made a few mistakes, turned the ball over, but overall, very happy with the performance. I know the kids were very excited also.
Yeah, you couldn't have designed the first 5 or 6 minutes any better. You got the opening kickoff and you just marched down the field and scored, and then you mentioned the scoop and score. And, before some of the fans, I'm sure, were even in their seats, it was 14-0.
Yeah, we emphasize fast start. We've also talked about it this week as well. We feel like when we get off to a fast start and gain that confidence early on in the game, we play pretty well. And really, I thought we had control of the game. I thought we had a pretty good command on the game. We threw a pick six that kind of let them get back in the game early, that let them off the hook a little bit for the slow start that they had. But, after that mistake, I feel like we continued to play well. But like you said, we got off to a very quick start. And anytime you can do that in a game, especially in a rivalry game when the emotions are high, it's going to help the kids settle down and gain confidence early on in the game.
We talked about it last week. First time since 2015 you were able to knock off both River Valley and Pleasant in the same year.
Yeah, we talked to the kids about, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want your senior class to be remembered? So to be able to do something that hasn't been done in a long time and kind of set the foundation for the program moving forward. We've talked this week about, another thing that we can do that these seniors haven't done is win 4 games. So three wins is the best season they've had in their 3 years. So we're going to try to improve that and send them out the right way, and again lay the foundation of where we hope this program can be in a few years.
All right, we'll come back. We'll take a look at I imagine probably plenty of highlights from the game against Pleasant, and we'll do that right after these words. Back once again on the Coach's Corner program, and Coach, before we take a look at some of the highlights against Pleasant, you should look back and here we are, week 9 already. I think of the Ontario game, I think of the Highland game, and even the Lima game. We're sitting here at 3-5, but very easily, that record could be flipped.
Yeah, it's easy to look back. Obviously, you wish you could go back and do some things over, but that's part of the learning experience. Sure. as a coach, as a player, and really where we hope to be as a program in a few years as a program. The kids are competing extremely hard, and part of the process is learning how to win those close games. So, the more close games you're in, the more comfortable the kids get in that situation, the better they're going to play in those moments. So that's part of the growing pains is, obviously you would like to learn from those moments with a win, but that's not always going to be the case. So definitely wish we could have some of those back. We feel like we're better than our record, but at the same time, we're looking forward. We're hoping we can get another win this week.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from the game last week over at Pleasant.
Our goal early in the game was to, get the ball out on the edge to our playmakers. Our screen game was working really well. Here's a long screen pass to Landon Keller. It's a play we've watched a couple weeks in a row, that tailback screen pass. We've talked about executing in all phases of the game. We had a block punt set up. We didn't actually block the punt. It was a bad snap, and the punter bobbled it, but our guys were there. They took the coaching. We didn't fall on the ball. We scooped and scored, so it's always good to see those things paying off.
And you had 10 guys rushing a punter, and I think they were a little nervous.
Yeah, you always want to go after, and we tell the kids, if we don't fall on it because it's going to be our ball no matter what, so we want to scoop and score. But here was a really good pass down the middle of the field to Jeffrey Wright. He caught his first varsity touchdown pass. He's a sophomore, and we have high hopes for him here in the future. Long run here by Maddox Simmers. I mentioned we wanted to get the ball out in space early, and we feel like we did that and kind of spread the defense out, and then we got into kind of an old school look with eye backs and a tight end and had a couple nice runs out of that also.
That was a great catch in the corner of the end zone there.
Yeah, Ray J, he's a really good receiver for us. He's had a couple quiet games in a row, but he really had a nice game last Friday night.
Defensively, I thought he played well too.
Yep, had several tackles, couple tackles for loss. He had an interception, so really overall he played a really good game. Here's a really good run by Landon Keller, senior running back. He's had, several really good games in a row, and he didn't get as many carries last Friday night because we threw the ball a little bit more, but he definitely ran the ball well with the carries that he did have.
And there you see some of the stats and final score. And we talked last week about the environment and so forth going back to Pleasant. I thought you and the players handled that very, very well.
Yeah, I thought the kids were very disciplined. We didn't have a lot of boneheaded penalties. There were quite a few penalties early on in the game, but they weren't necessarily mental mistakes. It was playing hard, running to the football. We had a face mask that was just a guy flying to the football, trying to get the guy on the ground. So we knew we had a few of those kind of penalties, but when you're playing extremely hard, you're going to have some of those. But I thought the kids were locked in and they were disciplined, and I think that's why we played so well.
All right. We'll come back. We'll preview the game coming up Friday night against Gallion. We'll do that right after these words. Back once again on the Coach's Corner program, and normally we have a segment where we talk to one of the players, but wasn't feeling well, so I hope he wasn't getting sick because he knew he had to be on on with us.
Yeah, hopefully the biggest concern as a coach when you have somebody sick is that it doesn't spread throughout the team. So hopefully it's isolated, he goes home, he rests up, and feels better.
Yeah. Gallion coming in Friday night. Gallion only has one loss, and that was to Shelby. I don't know if the thing that impresses me most about Gallion is the fact that they score a lot of points or they have a really solid defense.
They're a great team, all around. They kind of overwhelm teams with their team speed. They typically have a large team. This is one of their smaller teams, but they have a lot of small, fast guys out there. And they overwhelm offensive lines with their speed. Their skill guys are extremely fast on offense. So we feel like that's a strength of ours, so we hope we can match up from a speed aspect and really play a great game against them, so we're excited.
As far as offensively, what can you expect from them?
They're a spread team. They have a quarterback that's a really good athlete. He likes to run the ball. They have a receiver that I believe is a 3 or 4 year starter. He's one of the fastest kids in the conference, maybe the fastest kid. I know he's a track kid, extremely fast. They like to throw the ball down the field, so we have to be disciplined, not give up the big play, and stop the run.
And obviously, defensively, they're getting the job. I think, in the last 4 games, they've given up a total of 6 points.
Yeah, like I said, very good defense, and they blitz a lot. When you watch them on film, very rarely will you see a play where they're not blitzing. And most of the time, they're blitzing 2 or 3 guys, and they're overwhelming the offense. A lot of times you see mistakes on the opposing team's offensive line where they don't know who to block because there's some confusion. So we have to be disciplined up front. We're going through all those things through practice this week to hopefully we're all on the same page and we're communicating so we can get them blocked up front.
All right, CJ, good luck this week. Hopefully we can talk about a lot of good things next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, as always, for watching. It's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Coach's Corner program. For CJ, I'm Jeff Ruth. Thanks for watching.